Just want to do a quick video here of how to install certificates on a web server, and I have two servers here, an Active Directory server that acts as a DNS server, as well as a a certificate authority. And then I have one web server here running a very simple website that currently does not have a certificate installed, and that's this guy. So I'm using the example website from the video series that I was watching, and that's on Pluralsight, by the way. It's IIS, some IIS fundamental stuff, and I only do this once every 6 months, so I go back and review, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. But then I got to a point where I'm watching him, and he's not doing something very basic in my mind. I say it in my mind. To me, it's very basic, and he should show it in a fundamentals course. So anyway, okay. So I digress. So here we go. We're at the web server, IIS Web 2. We select the server. You go to server certificates. We're going to do our first certificate is going to be a self-signed certificate. Again, very easy to do on this one. You just put in my company. I'm just going to put in my company as my friendly name, and it's for web hosting. So, I'm going to put in my company. So there it is, web2.mycompany.pri. All right. Now I'm going to go to, that's our self-signed certificate. Going to the bindings, I'm going to add a 443 binding. If you don't know what that means, look it up. So my company inside.mycompany.pri, and I'm going to do my company self-signed certificate. Boom, boom, stop, start. And now if I put in HTTPS, I'm going to get a warning. Ooh, I don't trust this web server, or the certificate. So anyway, this is encrypted now. That's the whole idea behind using SSL, is doing encryption and making sure that the streams you're sending across are encrypted. So it's using a self-signed certificate, which is fine for development environments, but not what you want to do for production environments. So this is fine for now, but we definitely need to get this put out on this, get a production certificate on this website. So we go back, we're going to do something a little different. Server certificates, we're going to create a CSR, certificate request. Okay, now here is the part that the instructor didn't go through. He just left it all blank. Common name. What is common name? Common name is how you are going to access your website. And the way I'm going to access that website is through this fully qualified domain name. Your common name should be your fully qualified domain name, inside.mycompany.pri. Mycompany.pri is my domain. You'll see in a second. So organization is my company. IT is my unit. And city is Salt Lake City, Utah. Now, I always use RSA. I've never used anything but RSA. So I don't know anything about anything else other than RSA. So default is 1024 right now. The standard is 2048 bit length, if I remember right. Now we're going to create the actual output file, which will be our CSR, and that we can just get rid of this file and use that file name. So I've done this already, but and we're going to specify a file name. There it is. Finish it. Then we're going to go get that file. So this is your CSR. This is your new certificate. It's a begin new certificate request. Very important. So I put that in my clipboard, And what I'm going to do is go over to my certificate authority here. And when you're running an Active Directory Windows certificate authority, you are going to actually go to a website that gets created when you set it up called http:// your server, your Active Directory server name. In this case, my server name is called AD, and then cert serve. So it's going to go here, and I'm just going to go through this, request a certificate. That's what I want. I don't want a user certificate. I'm going to want an advanced web certificate. So I hit advanced. And here's what I want. Submit a certificate request by using a base 64 encoded CMC or PKS. So that is where I get to this, submit a certificate request. This is the CSR. There it is. So base 64 encoded certificate request, CSR is what that means. And then I believe we're PKCS 10, I think. And we don't want a user certificate. We want a web server certificate. That's all. That's what you do. Now, boom. So normally when you submit to a certificate authority would be like VeriSign, GoDaddy, a certificate authority. You basically give them your CSR. They come back, 24 hours later and say, here's your certificate file. This is what you're going to use. So anytime anybody, you install your certificate file on your web server. So anytime anybody accesses your website goes and checks VeriSign or GoDaddy and says, okay, is this a valid certificate? Yes, it is. We're trusted. Okay, it's trusted. Go ahead. So now the establishment of communication between the server and the client is trusted, and now things can start happening between each other so they can communicate in a secure way. So everything's encrypted. 204.8 is very hard to, that length that I've selected, to try and break that, it would take a lot of effort, basically, to break that encryption and find and open up that encryption to see what's being encrypted. So I'm not an expert on encryption, but that's the way I understand it. So you want to download the base 64 encoded certificate file. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and save that bad boy. That's the certificate file. And you can go ahead and just open it in Notepad, grab it, Control-A, Control-C. I mean, you can copy the file, but it's just as easy to do this. So I go back to my web server, I close my CSR, and I open Notepad. I paste in my certificate. Now look at here, it says this is different than the CSR. It actually says begin certificate. Okay, so now this, I'm going to save it as this guy right here. So that's the one I created just a half hour ago. And now I'm doing it again to show you how to do this. So now I've saved the CER file. Now I'm going to go in. I'm going to go in and edit my bindings. I'm going to remove this. And I don't need that self-signed certificate. I don't like those things hanging out there. Clean up after myself. So go ahead and remove that. Now, I'm back to my web server certificates, and there's no certificates in this case. So now I'm going to complete the certificate request. You don't have to do this with self-signed because it's just a self-signed certificate. Here I've created a CSR. I went into my certificate authority, gave them the certificate authority the CSR, and they gave me back a CER file, a CER file, the actual certificate. So when I complete this, I'm going to go ahead. Now it's looking for CER files here, CER files. The one I just finished is right there. And I'm going to, the friendly name is inside.mycompany.pri. It's just my friendly name and how it's stored. You don't have to call it that, but I like using the FQDN. And it is a web hosting certificate, so I always select web hosting. I can't explain every option here, so I don't pretend to know I know everything, but this is what I do for IIS web servers. So now it should have saved it. Yeah, there it is. I don't know why it gave me that error, but so now I'm going back to my site and edit my bindings, and why is it removing something? Because I don't know, maybe it's from this actual certificate store, because this is just IIS's stuff here. I'll show you the certificate store inside .mycompany.pri, and I'm going to go ahead and sign it the actual IP of the server, and there is my trusted. Okay, there. Now, if I just go ahead and refresh this, you're going to see this change from red to clear. Oh, let me go ahead and just stop and start. Stop the website. Start it. And there we go. Now it's clear. You can see a lock, and there it is. So very simple. And then here's the certificate store. You open up the Microsoft Management Console. You add a snap-in. You call certificates. You want the computer account, local computer, and then you go in, and there it is. You go into your personal store. That's where it stores it. So now I'm using this certificate on my website, and it's good for 2 years. Say Yahoo, good for 2 years. All right, that is certificates, and I hope you enjoyed this demo.